Hey guys, Austin Barnett here, and I'm here with Jay Davenport,
What's going on, y'all?
owner of Omra, and also a very valued member of Opera. Welcome to Debunked. I apologize for the time delay in the videos. Life just happened as it normally does. Uh, and today we're going to be discussing the Amityville Horror, and after this, actually, we're going to have a bunch of videos coming at you, as well as a bunch of sneak peeks of trailers. Um, so we're just going to go ahead and get into it here. And the Amityville probably gonna get crap for going over this, but it has to
Yeah,
be
you
done.
definitely are.
um, but there was a lot that transpired there. To begin, this is like the greatest American ghost story ever told. I mean, it's been passed down for years upon years, and it has spawned a crap ton of spin-off movies. And I mean, just ridiculous amounts of sequels, books, spin-offs, merchandise, you name it. Um, but it had two movies. Both of them were remake. One of them was a remake, which was Michael Bay's back in like 2003. Actually, I think there was another remake
I think
after
it was
that.
Ryan Reynolds.
Yeah, I think they did another one after that one, if I'm not
Yeah,
mistaken.
yeah, I think you're right.
Um, but it's very very popular. Um, Plus, you guys had a buttload of documentaries that came out about that. So we're going to get in. So here we go. We're going to the town of Amityville, Rhode Island, on the cool, stormy November night in 1974, where Ronnie DeFeo shot and killed his father, mother, Ronald and Luis, and his brothers and sisters in their beds as they slept. Ronnie was arrested outside a bar hours after the murders. He called the police on himself, saying he walked in and found the family dead. In the events that followed, Ronnie would eventually claim it was him when the police entered the property and came across a gruesome discovery. All members of Ronnie's family were found dead, face down in their beds, with their arms and legs crossed above their heads. Their
Like a
legs
ritual.
crossed. Huh.
Like a ritual, or.
The first murders that ever occurred in the house.
Right.
Um, so that's weird. Police can't explain the question that remains on how six people were in the same house and were able to sleep through a sound of a high-powered rifle being fired.
Yeah.
Neighbors didn't hear a thing. Nobody heard a thing. Um,
No muzzle flash,
Nothing.
no.
Police at first they thought that maybe it could have been thunder, but even thunder wouldn't have been able to mask the sound of that.
Yeah, no.
So there's something that was going there. But the neighbors didn't hear anything, and it's believed that he did it for an insurance claim of the family because the DeFeos were actually a very very wealthy family, and you know Ronnie was actually a very very bad drug addict, and he was also very very bad on opioids at the time. But he claimed that he was being possessed by a dark force in the house, and it told him to kill his family. Um, Ronnie's lawyer, William Weber, Ronnie's family lawyer, um, but tried to give him like the insanity plea pretty much, and he got shot down by the judge, and Ronnie ended up serving six back-to-back life sentences for the death of his siblings.
Damn.
Yeah. Later discovered that he was out of his mind. Maybe not by supernatural entities, but like I said, he had a very bad problem with opium and alcohol. And it was discovered that night they found a bunch of drugs on him, and he was at a bar when they arrested him. He came walking out of the bar. Um, his sentence is still standing to this day, and he resides in a facility in Fallsburg, in New York, inside a correctional facility. So he's pretty much still around today. But there was a lot of stories that actually came out of the DeFeos. There was actually an incident where him and his father got into it, and he actually grabbed the gun that he would, I think, later kill the family with, and pointed it right at his dad's face. And by the grace of God, the gun was loaded, but it somehow something went wrong inside the
Misfired.
gun, and it didn't go off when Ronnie pulled the trigger on him. After that, the father got extremely, extremely religious. I mean, there's religious statues around the house and everything else. But we're gonna move on to a couple years later when Lutz is moving in. Now, the Lutz's story, yeah, the younger kid has, spoken out here recently. The youngest kid, he actually had a documentary on Netflix called Amityville Horror, which he spoke out about what happened there now that George and Kathy Lutz are actually dead. Um, but basically, a lot of the movie was definitely overdoing it a little bit, especially Michael Bay's. Michael Bay's definitely overdid it. Yeah. But
Blood coming out everywhere.
right. So basically, they were newlyweds. They buy this house. Um, and honestly, in my opinion, at first glance, you look at the size of the house. It's a big house. It's hard to say. I mean, I said they probably couldn't keep up with the mortgage payments on it. I mean, they fabricated a whole story. But, they were claiming down to the point where it sounded like a marching band was walking through the house at night.
Mm-hmm.
George went out of his mind. The kids were being attacked by something. They saw Jody, which was, I think that's what his name was.
No,
Uh,
it was Tim. No.
no, it was a little girl. Uh,
Yeah, it was Jody.
yeah. And, inside the window, which I still doubt they saw a pig's head in the window. I say more likely that what they saw was a cat. Because if you look at the angle of where that window actually was, there is a way that animals can get up there. It would just be very, very hard. And like house today, it actually doesn't look anything like what it used to. I'll get into that here in a little bit. But basically, they said that they were having stuff. The walls were bleeding. They came across the infamous red room. And the original it was floor that the original George Lutz fell through, landing in that pool of blood. And inside the other one, it was where Ryan Reynolds walked in there and dude was slitting his throat and shit, which I was kind of
The
like,
Indians and
that
all
was
that.
stupid as hell. Yeah. And anyways, they were driven out of their house after 28 days, and ever since then, the house has been looked at. Actually, Ed and Lorraine Warren actually investigated it, and Lorraine Warren said it was the closest to hell that she would ever be. Personally, I don't hardly doubt anything that.
I think it's more the land than the house.
Yeah, this is the thing though. The house isn't even sitting where it was built. The house was actually moved from like I think it was like a block over to where it's at now. It has something to do with the way that they wanted the town set up back in the day, or something stupid like that. But yeah, and the whole Indian burial ground thing, it wouldn't happen because they talked to an actual Indian chief that was a descendant of that area, and he basically said there's the Indians never built buried their dead that close to water, so it's pretty much it's kind of up in the air with that one. But the red room, they did find a room, but it was painted red, but it wasn't like it was in anything else. The whole Ketchum, but he was a real person, but the whole shit, and he was accused of being a witch, but the whole crap with him just being slitting his throat inside the house and make a spirit live on in the house was just it never happened basically. Um, And I don't even think there's any record of him actually living in that house, to be honest with you. That was just something that was fabricated up by the Lutzes. So basically, when the Warrens went in there, they did come across some stuff. They actually caught a photograph, should be coming up on the screen, of a kid inside the house. And keep in mind, they were in here with a news crew, and there was no kids in this house whatsoever. I mean, the kid, it has reflective eyes, looks like maybe contact lenses or bright eyes, and it's looking directly into the camera. Now, my thing is, as much as I have been studying the paranormal since I was 12 years old. I've been a paranormal investigator since I was 16. I'm 23 now. And of all my studying and all my experiences, anything that has some type of reflective eyes that's not a spirit wearing glasses is usually not. But there's a lot that said that the Warrens got paid off, which I really don't believe that, because anything that really comes out of Ed and Lorraine Warren, I really don't question too much, because they are the grandfathers and grandfather and grandmother of paranormal investigating. If it wasn't for them, the field wouldn't be where it's at today. So basically, after the Lutzes got driven out of their house, of course, they got tons of publicity, and just a whole bunch of stuff. Here's a fun fact for you. I heard, what I read, is that the Lutzes actually slept on the beds that the DeFeos were murdered on the same mattresses. I mean, we're talking about, they were saying that there was cold spots around the house, pictures would just go flying off the walls, doors went completely out of his skull, all this other stuff. And it was actually found out later on by the older son that George Lutz actually had a fascination with the occult.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So, I mean, that one, like I said, that one, their story, I really have my doubts in it. I do believe that they were probably experiencing some things. Now, the house, they changed the windows on the house. It doesn't have the whole eyes type, the circular windows that look like eyes looking at you. They're now square. The house still sits where it was back then. It's in a little bit different condition. And the new owners have actually said that they're kind of like pretty much tired of living there, and they have no trespassing signs up because they got tired of people going up there trying to get into the house, look at it. And they said that they have not experienced. I mean, this is going through 4 or 5 other owners, and they said that they haven't experienced anything in the house. I mean, go back to the Lutzes, you know, the priest getting getting attacked in the house. I kind of believe it. I do believe that there was something going on there, but whatever it was, it either went back to being dormant or just, yeah, George Lutz brought it in, brought it on himself. Actually, pretty much after they moved out, they still had a little bit of problems at the other places that they were living. Shortly after that, George and Kathy actually ended up divorced. So I'm thinking it had a lot to do with George Lutz and his fascination with the paranormal.
I can see that.
As for like the walls running blood, the toilet water turning black, it's simply they had a sewage problem. And there was probably some type, probably ran over, the pipes probably had a pipe burst in the wall, and you had all that sewage coming out and draining down the wall. George's claim of his wife turning into an old hag in front of him, like I said, the man, if he was messing with the occult, he brought it upon himself. I do not condone anybody messing with Ouija boards, seances, anything like that, and I actually advise strongly against it.
I agree.
But, so in conclusion, we did debunk a lot of stuff with that. And of course, this has been debunked before. I thought it'd just be kind of fun to talk about, especially just since we're just getting started here. But next week's episode, interestingly enough, we're going to be debunking Ghost Adventures. So, you guys just tune in for that, and I hope you guys enjoy tonight's State of Conspiracy and Midnight Picnic Paranormal News. And until next time, I'm Austin Barnett.
Shade Davenport.
And we'll see you next time. Like and subscribe for more videos and content like this.